Clint Eastwood is one of Hollywood's most notorious figures.
I know what you're thinking. Did he fire 6 shots or only 5?
Known for his dashing good looks, those wildly intense stares, and exuding a confidence that some people came to fear.
Idiots. It's for you.
So it's no shocker that he has made some enemies along the way too.
Right turn, Clyde.
Now that that's settled, let's get down to the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Go ahead. Make my day.
Clint began acting in the early 1950s, and he's still very much at it today. He has won 5 Academy Awards and numerous other honors. Simply put, Clint Eastwood is and has been for decades a major player in Hollywood.
I'm just a country boy.
Eastwood, known for his rugged, masculine roles, has often been cast as the loner. Countless women have swooned at his cowboyish charm, and he's had many admirers. But that didn't stop people from hating him either. Some were jealous of his success, while others didn't like his point of view and vocality on certain issues. But we're not the judges here, simply presenting the case. As always, make sure you're subscribed to the channel, and if you're feeling lucky, go ahead and smash that thumbs up button for us.
There's gotta be 100 reasons why I don't blow you away. Right now, I can't think of one.
Actors who hate Clint. Apparently, Eastwood has made some very famous Hollywood actors rather unhappy with him, and several have promised that they would never work with him again. Mr. Leonardo DiCaprio worked with Clint Eastwood on the movie J. Edgar in 2011, where Leo was championing the project as J. Edgar Hoover, the picture directed by Clint. Issues were throughout, but came to a boil after Leo requested a retake of a scene. Clint instead announced the day as a wrap and calmly walked off set.
With all due respect, sir, you're beginning to bore the hell out of me.
Another actor in Hoover, Armie Hammer, claimed that Clint's style of shooting one take and moving on was so unusual that Hammer actually thought a take was just the rehearsal. And when Eastwood decided to print it and move on, Hammer was flustered, explaining to him that he had his script in his hand the entire time. To which Clint simply said, "I'll edit the script out." Reportedly, both Leo and Clint were cordial for the rest of the picture, but DiCaprio was already slated to appear in a second Eastwood film. But he stepped down, feeling like his voice fell on deaf ears.
Say what?
What?
What? What? What?
And the one, the only Tom Hanks. Now, Tom Hanks worked with Clint Eastwood more recently in the 2016 pilot true story Sully, the first collaboration between Clint and Tom Hanks. And Tom has stated that Eastwood acted more like a cowboy than a director.
What's it like working with Clint? He treats us like horses.
Hanks particularly disliked being on the receiving end of Clint Eastwood's disapproving glare.
Clint, I have this idea, maybe for the scene, if I do that and I throw that over to Aaron and then you can cut, it's like...
And even one of Clint Eastwood's own heroes didn't care for the gunslinger. From one legendary gunslinger to another, this one hurts. That's because I'm referring to the Duke himself, Mr. John Wayne, who didn't agree with many of Eastwood's creative liberties. The beef began when industry writers began comparing the up-and-coming Clint Eastwood to the famed John Wayne. John preceded Clint in the Western film genre, as Wayne was the star of Hollywood and always played the good guy who was saving the day, the cowboy who was the hero. Clint Eastwood changed this style and portrayed the rugged cowboy as a loner, and John Wayne hated this, and things escalated after the 1973 release of High Plains Drifter, which would be Eastwood's darkest Western to date, in which he starred and directed. And afterwards, Clint Eastwood wrote a letter to the Duke, suggesting that they make a Western together. Imagine that. I'm on board. Well, John was not. He sent back an angry reply, denouncing the movie for its gratuitous violence and revisionist portrayal of the Old West. And how did Clint take the news from his idol? By shrugging it off and not answering the greatest Western star of all time.
Dirty, rotten, dirty,
So obviously the two did not work together. If Wayne hadn't hated Eastwood, we may have had the chance to see them star in a film together. In the 1970s, both men were approached with a script titled The Hostiles, about a gambler and an old man. Clint Eastwood was interested, but John Wayne was not. Lucky for Clint, John Wayne's sour comments didn't hurt his acting or directing career, and Clint famously went on to open his own production company, Malpaso, which has produced many terrific films, just none starring John Wayne. Directors who hate Clint. Director Spike Lee and Clint Eastwood's feud can be traced back to hiring choices made by Eastwood for his two famous World War II films, both released in 2006, Letters from Iwo Jima and Flags of Our Fathers. Spike Lee claims that Eastwood didn't accurately portray the diversity of forces who heroically fought in those battles.
If you blinked, you've missed the one black person that was in it. There were black Marines.
Clint replied to Spike, telling him that he could, quote, shut his face. And Lee responded that since Clint was not his father and they're not on a plantation, he could mind his own. Spike went on with, quote, he's a great director. He makes his films, I make my films. But come on, he sounds like an angry old man right there. Reportedly, the two famed directors have since made up and do have a cordial relationship. Documentary director Michael Moore posted some critical comments about snipers on Facebook around the same time that Clint Eastwood's film American Sniper premiered in 2014. Michael thought the movie glorified snipers in a way that he didn't think was appropriate. Rumor states that at a National Board of Review Awards dinner, where both men were present, Eastwood was given an opportunity to speak and coldly stated that if Michael Moore ever came to his home for an interview, he would shoot him. Naturally, the audience thought he was kidding and began to, I assume, nervously laugh, to which Clint stopped them and said that he was serious and declared once again he would.
It's a hell of a thing, killing a man.
More hate for Clint. Eastwood is known for his conservative political views and has made some comments which upset some other celebrities. Red Hot Chili Peppers bassist Flea felt that some of the remarks made by Eastwood about political correctness in the entertainment industry were inconsiderate.
We see people accusing people of being racist and all kinds of stuff. When I grew up, those things were not called racist.
Speaking of politics, did you know that Clint Eastwood served as a town mayor for 2 years? I just hope he yelled, "Get off my lawn," when people came to visit him at City Hall.
Get off my lawn.
On to a shared lawn. Sandre Lock was romantically and professionally involved with Clint Eastwood years back, and their relationship had a reputation for being extremely toxic. The two lived together for nearly 10 years, even though Sandre Lock was still legally married to another. And things got heated when Clint locked Sandra out of their shared home.
Get out of here.
When he discovered that she was trying to direct and act in films other than his. Lock was beautiful and talented, but her relationship with Clint forever tarnished her professional career after they had starred in several films together. Do you remember The Outlaw Josie Wales in '76? Well, that was the first of 6 films that the two would star in, and Clint even claimed in an interview that it was one of his favorite films. But things got even messier when Lock sued him for palimony, and the two settled the dispute outside of court. Eastwood pulled some strings and got Lock a contract for films with Warner Brothers. Sounds like all was back on track, right? Wrong. Over 30 of Sandre Lock's projects were rejected. It turns out the contract was just a piece of paper. They didn't intend to let her make films.
You want a guarantee? Buy a toaster.
So Lock sued Clint a second time for fraud, and again he settled matters out of court. But the damage was done, and the once couple has never made up.
Everybody's got a right to be a sucker once.
Later, haters. So what did we learn? Clint is basically exactly what you'd expect. Difficult to work with, a little too dark for some Western conventionalists, and has some skeletons in his closet for sure.
Oh, I've got one. There's a Mexican, a Jew, and a colored guy go into a bar.
but he's still at it. His latest project was completed in 2021, the film Cry Macho, once again directing and starring as the washed-up rodeo star who finds redemption escorting a youngster away from an alcoholic parent. But now let's delve into the love life of a man who lost his virginity to a neighbor at 14 and hasn't looked back since. Maggie Johnson. Imagine getting set up on a blind date, waiting patiently in the restaurant, when all of a sudden a 6'4" Adonis with a jawline chiseled from stone named Clint Eastwood strides in. You'd think you won the lottery, and that's exactly what happened to UC Berkeley student Maggie Johnson in early 1953. The two were immediately smitten, and after a hasty engagement were married in December of '53. Eastwood only 23. What followed was a tumultuous union that lasted officially for 31 years. But in reality, it was over much sooner. Eastwood almost immediately began to see other women, and although he described the marriage as being somewhat open, a direct quote being, "We don't believe in togetherness." The sheer volume of Eastwood's dalliances put a strain on his relationship with Johnson. The two nearly called it quits in the mid-60s, but after a trial separation, they reconciled and had 2 kids together, born in 1968 and 72. The reconciliation was not to last, however, and by 1975, Eastwood was living with actress Sandre Lock. An official separation followed in 1978, but their divorce wasn't made official until 1984, with Eastwood paying Johnson a lump sum of $25 million. Not too shabby of a settlement. Affairs, Part 1. Clint wasted no time in stepping out on Maggie Johnson. Before they were even engaged, he had an affair with a young member of the Little Theater group in Seattle. An affair that led to the birth of Eastwood's first acknowledged child, a mere 8 weeks after his marriage. And the affairs didn't stop there. Actress Mamie Van Doren said the two had a tryst in 1955 on the set of Star in the Dust. And that dalliance was followed soon by involvements with, hold on, I've got to take a deep breath here, restaurant critic Gail Green, model Kathy Regan, co-stars Inger Stevens, Gene Seberg, and Joanne Harris, actress Catherine Deneuve, columnist Bridget Byrne, and singer Keely Smith. Wow, I mean the beast with 2 backs, more like a beast with dozens. But among these late 50s and 60s trysts, not a one was a lasting, meaningful relationship, except with Roxan Tunis. Roxan Tunis. By 1959, Eastwood had become a bona fide star due to his hit show Rawhide, and during the Western's second season, he began a torrid affair with dancer and stuntwoman Roxan Tunis. That, in an unusual move for Eastwood, lasted for more than 14 years. You'd think that after 1 child born out of wedlock, Eastwood would have learned about the joys of contraceptives, but apparently that was not the case, and in 1964, Tunis gave birth to the actor's second child, Kimber, a fact that was kept secret from the public until 1989. Kept secret from everyone except Eastwood's current wife, Maggie Johnson, who knew about Kimber and even met Tunis face to face when visiting one of Eastwood's sets. Talk about awkward, huh? But a roving eye never stops looking, and by the early 70s, Eastwood had firmly set his on actress Sandre Lock. Sandre Lock. In 1972, Eastwood met actress Sandre Lock in a meeting at his office, and the two instantly hit it off. By 75, the couple was living together, apparently in bliss, despite tension with Eastwood's current wife, Maggie Johnson, who wouldn't let Lock on her property or even call her home. Lock, for a time, even put a hold on Eastwood's notorious womanizing. She wrote in her autobiography, quote, "Clint seemed astonished at his need for me, even admitting that he'd never been faithful to one woman because he'd never been in love before," he confided. He even made up a song about it. "She made me monogamous. That flattered and delighted me. I would never doubt his faithfulness and his love for me." But despite the song and the newfound commitment to monogamy, Eastwood refused to have Lock's children. The actress had 2 abortions in the mid-70s at his behest, before eventually having her tubes tied. And speaking of monogamy, Eastwood was indeed monogamous for the first 5 years of the relationship, but then the 80s hit, and the ultimate player was back in the game. Affairs, Part 2. Did any of us really think Eastwood would all of a sudden stop his philandering ways? And after several happy years with Lock, he started to get that familiar itch, and by the early 80s was straying again. During this time, Eastwood shacked up with story analyst Megan Rose, actress Jamie Rose, animal rights activist Jane Brolin, and flight attendant Jacqueline Reeves. A secret affair that would have long-lasting consequences for the actor. Jacqueline Reeves. In the mid-80s, Eastwood began an affair with Jacqueline Reeves and fathered 2 children with the flight attendant, Scott and Catherine, born in 1986 and 88. Eastwood was able to keep this second family secret from everyone. That is, until an expose by Star Tabloid in 1990 revealed the children to the world. And what a storm for the actor. An already acrimonious split from Sandre Lock became even worse. Lock ended up suing Eastwood in 1990 for palimony, and in 1995 for fraud, and continued to make discrediting comments about him until her death. The Jacqueline Reeves revelations also put a serious strain on Eastwood's next big romantic involvement, and ultimately contributed to its end. Frances Fisher. Eastwood met actress Frances Fisher on the set of Pink Cadillac in 1988, and the two had a secret, non-exclusive affair for 2 years before going public in 1990. Fisher later said of dating Eastwood, quote, "I simply felt that this was it, the big one. I had no idea that every woman he meets probably feels as I did." Yeah, that sounds about right. The two's relationship soon became more serious, and they starred together in Eastwood's Oscar-winning 1992 epic Unforgiven, and had a child in 1993 named Francesca. But surprise, surprise, there was trouble brewing in paradise. Eastwood forced Fisher to hide her pregnancy until the 3rd trimester, because as he puts it, quote, "I don't want that kind of thing taking attention away from my Oscar race." Woof. That, coupled with the revelation of Eastwood's hidden kids with Reeves, and a 39-year-old woman from Washington coming forward and saying that Eastwood was also her biological father, a claim Eastwood never officially responded to. Well, it all proved too much drama, and Eastwood and Fisher split in 1995. Dena Ruiz. Before Fisher had completely moved out of their house, Eastwood was reportedly already dating Dena Ruiz, a news anchor 35 years younger, because yeah, of course, seems right out of the Eastwood playbook. Except the two did get married, just Eastwood's second legal marriage, and by all accounts, the two had a very happy marriage, and in 1996 welcomed their daughter Morgan. So that's 8 officially acknowledged children for those of you counting. In 2012, Dena, Morgan, and Francesca starred in the reality show Mrs. Eastwood and Company for the E! Network. In a brilliant piece of foreshadowing, while promoting her show, Ruiz commented, "I hope we're still married when this is over." Well, they weren't, as by 2014 the two were divorced. I wouldn't expect anything less from the man with a fistful of dollars. Christina Sandera. Shortly after his divorce from Ruiz, Eastwood met restaurant hostess Christina Sandera, and the two went public with their relationship at the Oscars in 2015. And Clint and Christina are still currently dating, but I wouldn't put it past the now 88-year-old actor to have a few more women up his sleeve.
Do you have any kids, Lieutenant?
No. Lucky for them.
Some of Eastwood's kids are old enough to be their siblings' grandparents. Whoa.
Listen to me, you sawed-off little runt.
Apparently, Clint has remained incredibly virile into his twilight years. Although, would anyone honestly assume otherwise?
Every gun makes its own tune.
And these are just the kids we know about. Clint refuses to state his exact number of offspring in a valiant attempt to protect his family's privacy. And his biographer has said his true number of children is unclear. But that one was when he was still in high school. So welcome to your lesson. I am Nostalgic Nick with Do You Remember? As we learn all about Clint's kids. Lorie Murray. If you were watching this video 40 years ago, A, no you wouldn't be, there's no internet. And B, Lorie Murray wouldn't be on this list, let alone atop it. That's because for almost 3 decades, the world and Clint himself was unaware of the existence of his firstborn.
Everybody's got a right to be a sucker once.
In 1954, when the actor was just 24 and not even close to famous, he had a short affair with an anonymous member of a theater group he acted in. The woman became pregnant, but hid the pregnancy from Eastwood and quickly gave her daughter up for adoption. This daughter, Lorie Murray, became intrigued by who her biological parents were when she reached her early 30s. And yeah, was she astonished to find out her birth mother had written Clint Eastwood down as the father. Lorie got in touch with Eastwood, and although Clint had no knowledge of her existence, he eagerly took up his fatherly duties, and the two even vacation together these days.
In this photo, she's surrounded by her 7 siblings.
So, all in all, I'd say a very happy ending. Kimber Eastwood. Clint Eastwood was never one to be completely faithful to his partners, which makes it no surprise that his second daughter, along with Lorie Murray, is also a product of one of his affairs during his first marriage to Margaret Johnson. From 1959 to 73, Clint was involved with a stunt woman named Roxan Tunis. The couple had 1 child together, Kimber Eastwood, in 1964. Although Clint knew about his daughter, the actor, a very private person, managed to keep her existence unknown to the public until Kimber was 25. Eastwood's second daughter initially tried to follow her father's footsteps and began her acting career in 1989 in The Freeway Maniac. An absolute must-not watch. But despite an appearance in her dad's blockbuster Absolute Power, Kimber's acting career just never took off. Fortunately, she found her calling below the line and became a talented makeup artist, working on TV shows like Wheel of Fortune and Dog the Bounty Hunter. Which is probably good, because at his age, Clint probably needs lots of makeup. Kyle Eastwood. Kyle Eastwood is both his father's firstborn son and his dad's first kid that wasn't the result of an affair. Born in 1968 to Clint's first wife, Margaret, Kyle, unlike many of his siblings, didn't inherit the love of acting from his father, never pursuing a career in front of the camera. However, the boy didn't escape the arts entirely, and from a very young age, he dreamed of being a musician. He went every year with his parents to the Monterey Jazz Festival, and because of who his dad was, he got to go backstage. He met some of the jazz greats, such as Dizzy Gillespie. All of this inspired him to start playing the bass in high school. Clint, being a lover of all things music, encouraged Kyle to pursue his dreams. And by the late 90s, Kyle was recording and releasing successful jazz albums. And pretty cool, he has also written music for 9 of his father's films, including Mystic River and $1 Million Baby. Truly an artistic family. Allison Eastwood. Unlike her older full brother Kyle, Allison, the actor's second child with Margaret, was fully bitten by the same acting bug that munched on her dad. After several uncredited roles in the 80s and early 90s.
You know, my brother and I were always on set, so we just grew up sort of infused with set life.
Allison enjoyed a breakout moment in 1997's Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil. If you've seen it, she played John Cusack's love interest. And while her career never hit the heights of her famous father, and honestly, whose has, Allison has worked as an actor consistently, starring in movies like Friends and Lovers and Pool Hall Junkies. Also like her dad, Allison is very capable behind the camera. Her most recent directorial effort was 2017's Battle Creek, which starred Bill Skarsgård. Beyond the world of film, Allison runs her own clothing line and has founded a non-profit animal welfare organization. Actor, director, environmental advocate. Definitely her father's daughter. Scott Eastwood. In 1989, Clint Eastwood was hit with a palimony lawsuit, and it came out that he had fathered 2 children with a flight attendant named Jacqueline Reeves over the course of a years-long affair. Classic Clint, huh?
Here's to us ducks, because we don't give a quack.
Their first child was Scott Eastwood, born in 1986. Like many of his siblings, Scott looked in the mirror and was like, yeah, I can do it. He followed his dad's career path and began acting when he was 20. A quick perusal of his acting credits might lead you to scream nepotism, as 2 of his first 5 films were Flags of Our Fathers and Gran Torino, both films directed by Papa Clint. But honestly, Scott is a talented actor in his own right, and has since starred in non-Eastwood films like Fury and The Longest Ride. I mean, the guy has even been in 2 Fast and the Furious movies, so you know he's the real deal.
Look, he's still working from the manual. I mean, he doesn't even really know the rules.
And despite winning a Golden Raspberry Award for Worst Actor for Dangerous in 2021, I'm sure he continues to make his father proud. Catherine Eastwood. Catherine is the younger full sibling to Scott, and Clint's second child with Jacqueline Reeves. She was born in 1988 and also decided to pursue the family trade of acting. Her first role was at 26 years old in the blockbuster hit Jersey Boys. But Google the movie's director and you will see some similarities. Despite such an auspicious start to her career, Catherine's career has not matched that of her father's or even some of her siblings. Since then, she has mainly been relegated to short films like American Virus and House Slave, which I know you're all very familiar with. But even though her birth certificate literally says father declined, Catherine is still very much part of the family and shows up regularly on the red carpet with her father and siblings. Francesca Eastwood. During the early 90s, Clint had a relationship with a great actress named Frances Fisher, and the two had a daughter named Francesca in 1993. I know, very original.
We're gonna play this game called Speed Zoo.
Speed Zoo?
Monkey!
Francesca also got her start in showbiz on the reality show Mrs. Eastwood and Company. This focused on her stepmom, and her younger sister Morgan. But we'll get to Morgan, as Francesca achieved notoriety on the show when she and her then boyfriend burned a $100,000 Hermes Birkin bag during a photo shoot, which just kind of screams privilege. After the show's run, she decided to continue acting, surprise, surprise, and has appeared in episodes of Fargo and Twin Peaks.
So proud of Francesca. I think this is a wonderful time of her life to be doing this.
Her most recent role was in the M. Night Shyamalan movie, Old, in 2021. But the most interesting fact about Francesca Eastwood might be that she was married to Jordan Feldstein, former Maroon 5 manager and Jonah Hill's brother, for a grand total of 9 days. Morgan Eastwood. Clint Eastwood's last child that we know of. Born in 1996 to Dena Ruiz, Eastwood's wife at the time. And if you're keeping score at home, yes, that's about 42 years after Clint's first child.
Am I being paranoid or is he busting my balls?
Talk about sowing your oats. And not to harp on it, but Clint is 14 years older than Morgan's maternal grandfather. Anyways, despite appearing in Mrs. Eastwood and Company when she was only 16.
But this isn't any family. They're the Eastwoods.
Morgan herself hasn't tried to make her way as an actress, with just a few credits to her name. Instead, she prefers to be on the other side of the camera, and has spent the last several years helping to produce short films. I wonder, does Clint have enough talented kids to make an entire production crew? Maybe.
If my life were a movie, there'd be a sign on it saying, "Caution, some scenes too intense for younger viewers."
But those are all of Clint Eastwood's children that we know. So what did you already know about them? Have you seen any of them in films or TV? Or listened to any of their smooth jazz? Let us know in the comments. And while you're there, tell us your favorite Clint Eastwood film. And before you go, please give this video a thumbs up if you don't mind. And subscribe to the channel so you never miss a memory. But from all of us here at Do You Remember, we want to thank you for watching.